have to tell you, I've led a very interesting life, a very blessed life in many ways, and a life filled with a lot of struggle as well. Not unlike many, many other people. But I'm going to tell a story today that I never, ever thought that I could possibly become my reality. I'm going to tell a story about an interview I did in 1986, I think it was, with a Vedic Astrologer, and how all that came about and what he had to say, and then the end result of it. It's not even over yet. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. I'm sitting here, I still even can't believe the story I'm going to tell you, that it happened to me. It is that crazy. David Essel here, 45 years as a counselor, #1 best-selling author, a radio, TV host, podcast host, so many different things. So 1986, I think it was, I had gone through the certification training for transcendental meditation. And in that training of transcendental meditation, of course, I ended up meeting a lot of amazing people. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of Transcendental Meditation, became one of my greatest teachers of all time. Just incredible teacher. And he recommended that I sit and meet with one of his Vedic astrologers. And so I couldn't understand why. Like, what is this guy going to tell me? And is astrology even real? And all those kind of things are going through my head. But because I had so much respect for Maharishi, I said, sure, I'll go through it. Well, I didn't know what I was getting into, quite honestly. And so the Vedic astrologer came from India. He did not speak a word of English. He had a translator with him. So we met in Florida, and I had a friend of mine taking notes because I knew that it was going to be incredibly intense, and I didn't want to forget anything. And I had no idea it was going to go on for 3 to 4 hours. We had a 3 to 4 hour Vedic astrology reading about my life. He went back to the moment I was born. He went all the way through my life. It was amazing what this guy could read without ever meeting me, and he never spoke English. I will tell you something that was really fascinating, though. Every time he'd say to me, and then you're going to do this, accomplishing something huge, and I'd go, what? And he'd start laughing. He was very much like all the gurus from India, right, and the East. Like, they giggle, they laugh over all these different things. And so we get to this point of my career. He had talked about how many girlfriends I was going to have and how many wives I was going to have. And, oh, my God, the guy was incredible. Then we get to the career, and he looks at me, and he says to the interpreter, he's going to be shocked to hear this. And so the interpreter says, well, he thinks you're going to get a kick out of this one. I said, what's that? He says, you're going to write 17 or more books. And I said, oh, would you stop it? Would you just stop it? Listen, all the other stuff you're telling me about the number of girlfriends and all this, I can buy into that, okay? But I'm not going to write, I haven't written one book. It's 1986. I have a master's degree in sports psychology. I work with all kinds of different people. I travel the world as a speaker. I don't have time to write 17 books. He is laughing harder and harder. And he keeps saying to the interpreter, tell him again, it's 17 or more books, So he would say it's 17 or more books. I go, I can't believe this. And then the guy would say, tell him again, it's 17 or more books. We went back and forth laughing our butts off. And I never believed it would be a reality. And I'm just going to be honest with you. It was about 3 years later, 1990, 4 years later, something like that. I had completely forgot about the interview I did with him. I had a notebook somewhere. My friend took so many incredible notes, somewhere in storage, some storage facility. I have the notes from that day. I think he wrote like 20 or 25 pages of notes from the 4 or 5 hour freaking interview. It was just incredible. And then about 3 to 4 years later, I had an assistant, and she looked at me one day and she said, you should write books. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm a jock. I'm a sports psychology coach. I work with athletes. I work with fitness professionals. And eventually I started in 1990, actually the year that she said you should write a book. I started working with couples and relationships and spiritual path and addiction recovery, and all these different topics started coming out. As I moved away from full-time work in the athletic world, I moved full-time work into the common world. And I looked at her and said, what do you mean write a book? And she said, David, I hear you on the phone. You tell the most incredible stories. My little girls love coming over and sitting with you because they know at some point David's going to make up a story and they're going to be laughing their heads off. You are a great storyteller. Why don't you write a book? And I thought, I can't write a book. Now, this is 1990. It took 2 more years before I started writing my very first book, which became Phoenix Soul, One Man's Search for Love and Inner Peace. And now we have 16 books written. I never would have believed this was going to happen. I have one more book to write to fulfill the astrologer's belief that I was going to do 17 or more books. I believe we're probably going to end up with about 25. That's just a guess on my part. I'm able now to write a book. It takes me 48 hours and a book is done. Now it has to go through editing, which is several weeks, but I've got the process down so tight. My last 5 books I've written in 2 days, each of them in 2 days. We're talking about 10 days to write 5 books. It's incredible, the system I created, but it came from repetition, right? You write 16 books and you better find a good way to do it. So now I'm waiting on number 17. I have an idea what the topic is going to be. Keep your mind open. When someone says something, I could see you as a great teacher. I could see you as a great coach. I could see you as a great fill in the blanks, entrepreneur, small business owner. Don't shut them down immediately like I did. Keep your mind open. Sometimes people see into us gifts that we can't see ourselves. Stay open-minded. If I can help you find your path, I had no idea a huge part of my pathway would become an author, by becoming an author. If I can help you expand your path, find your way, please reach out to me at talkdavid.com. We've been doing this for 45 years. 5 free books at the website you can get. Doesn't cost a penny. Work with me one-on-one from anywhere in the world. We have discounts right now because of inflation. Let's get you on a beautiful path. I'm so glad that I went to that Vedic Astrology reading. I'm so glad that my assistant gave me that little thought in the brain that I should start writing, because it was all that together that created up to now 16 books, 17 on the way. Have a beautiful day.